Hello, welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Janice Carney. Janice is an attorney, and she has her own law practice, Carney Elder Law, in Los Gatos, California. She's also the founder of a second company, the Ease Plan, which provides patient advocacy and care coordination services. She received her JD degree from the University of Santa Clara Law School in 1990, and she's been practicing law independently for a number of years. I have about 23. It's probably more like 25 now.
Going on.
Yeah. Anyway, she's a certified specialist in estate planning, trust, and probate law by the State Bar of California Board of Legal Specialization since 1995. In 2005, Janice became the first certified elder law attorney in Santa Clara County through the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys. And in 2009, she became an accredited attorney with the Veterans Administration. Most recently, Janice was asked to spearhead the West Coast launch of the Women's LongTerm Care Project. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're just going to be hitting some highlights related to this. I'm sure that there's going to be many more details. We were talking about a case study that she had. We're not going to be able to go through all of those details in the time that we have. But mostly we want you to be aware of this project. And these days, it seems like everybody has a family member or has had recently that they've had to deal with in a care situation. It has to do, I guess, with our demographics for our country and so forth. So Jan, thanks for joining me today.
You're so welcome, Mike.
Okay. What is the Women's Long-Term Care Project?
So it needs a little explanation, the history of it. Several years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, there was a government study that was an initiative. And the initiative was to study the effects of long-term care issues on our population, on our society. And what they did is that they commissioned some fellows to study it in a group that was all government employees. So, they were pretty cross the board kind of group. And they, after several years of studying the effects of it, came up with a number of insights into it. One of the insights was that the impact of long-term care, of course, on the person who's being cared for, but a major impact of long-term care is on the next generation, and it's usually the daughter or the daughter-in-law, because women have traditionally been the caregivers in our society.
Yes.
And that they found that this is, because while they have been the traditional caregivers, women are now in the workforce as full-time careers.
Right.
So they don't have the time and the ability to drop everything or to bring an elder into their own home and care for them along with the other family members. This has become a major impact, and it's so the major focus of the study was determined that the women who are between 40 and 60, who are caught in that in-between generation, they may still have children at home, and yet they've got elders that they're starting to be called out to care for. And they realize that the woman who's in the workforce who has a child who's sick may be out for a week, but if they have a mother who's sick, they may have to give up the job. So it's a major impact on the family, that family member, the finances of the family, and on the workplace, because that employee has been a long-term employee for somebody, and they're being pulled out of the workplace. The numbers of hours that the workforce are losing for the next generation to care for their elders who are in the long-term care situation are huge, just huge. So most people don't think about this. And that was one of the things that the study also said, is that with some pre-planning, this can be mitigated quite a lot. But most people have no idea what the issues are or how to plan for it. And it's one of those things, well, maybe it'll come to me and maybe it won't, and I won't worry about it until it happens. And so you're always in a crisis when these things happen. And instead of waiting for that crisis to happen, if you pre-plan, you're going to be much better off. So after the initiative, and they learned that the initiative didn't die, it became an initiative to get the word out.
I see.
To the next generations generally, and to all of our population, about the need to pre-plan for long-term care. And I'm not talking about life insurance or long-term care insurance. That could be a tool for it, but that's not the point. The point is to really look at all of the pieces, and there's many pieces that you need to put together. So the project was taken over by a group of leading elder law attorneys around the country that I happen to belong to, and that group has attorneys in, I think there are probably about 20 attorneys in the group, and you can go online to the WPLTC.com, and you can see the professional attorneys who are members of this and are trying to get the word out about long-term care, the Women's Long-Term Care Project.
Okay. So what's the objective of your involvement in this Women's Long-Term Care Project?
Mine is to educate individuals, communities, and businesses in our locale about the issues, and so that we're not the last to figure it out. You know, and people need to understand that there are other people who have figured it out, and that there are wonderful resources out there. But most of the time, this is completely foreign to the family. I mean, our engineers have no idea. I mean, I don't do engineering. They don't do long-term care stuff. No. So they need to. I believe my basic bottom line is find professionals who actually know this stuff and get good advice about where to go.
Okay. Can you give us an example about somebody planning ahead?
Sure. So the case study that I'd like to talk a little bit about is my client Phyllis, and I have gotten her permission and the permission of her family to talk about her situation. Phyllis is 90 years old, and she is living on the ranch where she was born.
Wow.
And here on the edge of San Jose. Her only daughter lives in Arizona. Now she has a son in the Central Valley, but it's mostly the daughter who is the caregiver for her. And of course, from Arizona, it's hard to be a caregiver. So about 10 years ago or so, Phyllis's daughter, whose name is Jane, realized that they needed to make a plan for Phyllis, because they were committed that she would die in the house where she was born. And she was, of course, very spry, and she was a very educated woman, in her day. So they set out to create a plan, and the plan incorporated a number of elements to it. It was recognizing that you need a team, and who should be on your team. The number one person was an elder law attorney.
Okay.
A second was a financial planner who specializes in senior issues, a CPA who, of course, can help them stay out of tax trouble and help them figuring out the budgets and that kind of thing. There was a geriatric care manager, or other terms for that might be a care advocate or a care coordinator that will know the systems out there, the medical and the care systems. Then they will also be able to tap into all of the resources that are in the community, or they should be able to if you've got a good one. So there are many, 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 many resources that are involve the senior services. And again, the people who are in this industry know about these things. People who aren't in it, of course, don't. So there's a whole list of people who on this, that at the bottom of it, I always laugh. She has the other family members, and she had in quotations, so they won't complain later of whatever you're doing. Besides the team, she recognizes that, of course, with the elder law attorney, you're going to make sure that you have your documents in order. You've got good advance directives and powers of attorney and trusts or wills or whatever is needed. And then you also have address other issues, like how do we manage the medications? How do we make sure that we have all of the doctors? The doctors was another person on the team, of course. Then what kind of doctors do you need? Making sure that you get there. You need a fiduciary, somebody who's a friend or a family or a professional who's trusted that can handle the finances or help handle finances. And so the number of different issues on there. At the bottom, she has things to watch out for. And there are the scams that are so abundant in attacking seniors. So she put together this plan, and I freely give this out now to folks because it's a great first step in figuring it all out. And there's no one answer for everyone. It's going to be each person's scenario or setting is going to be different from others. But a lot of people, just like Phyllis, want to age and die in their own home.
Right, and the issue is going to be, will they be able to afford it?
Affording it is a big deal.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
so what kind of things can we do?
Yeah.
We can look to what kind of public benefits might be available. That's where the Medi-Cal and the VA benefits might help.
Yes.
We might be able to get some in-home support services through the county as well, depending on their economic situation. We might be looking at reverse mortgages. They might have life insurance that we can sell. They don't have to give it up. They can sell it and use it for long-term care. So there's different kinds of things to look at. Of course, their own wealth and their own pocketbook, and if they go into their retirement savings, their retirement accounts, then they also need to know what the tax impact is going to be of that, and what can they deduct and what they can't. Financially is not just where the dollar is going to come from, it's how to do it smart as well. We can't manufacture much money. Public benefits are only going to go so far. So that's one of the messages to the younger generation. You need to financially be planning ahead for this as well.
Okay. So you briefly mentioned some of the groups that you're trying to educate about this. So maybe you can go into a little more detail.
Sure. So I'm trying to educate the individuals, of course. The individuals would be the seniors and their family members who are going to need to be part of this. When I talk to seniors, it is important to talk to the family, especially, and really all of the family, because then you have the one or two that think this is crazy to do it this way. They think mom should be in a nursing home because it might be cheaper there. And that is sort of startling to some people, that it can be cheaper in a nursing home than staying at home.
Oh yeah.
And so, how do we do this? So we need to know what the plethora of professionals is and get them tied in. I want to talk to businesses as well, so that they understand the impact. Most of them, many large businesses have childcare on campus, but they've completely forgotten the other side. Well, they're starting to become more aware of it. But I would love to be able to get into businesses and do lunch programs just to talk about, like we're talking today, to educate people. There is stuff that you need to be thinking about. Organizations like Rotary clubs and Kiwanis and other fraternal groups. I do a number of programs, and I'd be glad to go and do programs for groups. And I've met some lovely, lovely people that way. So they need to, I could talk to them. And then, of course, communities. So if there's any kind of community group through the senior centers or through any other kind of community organization, which would like to have me.
Libraries are good.
They may, yes. I should look into the libraries more.
Yeah, I've done some programs in the past. So what are different ways that some of the viewers here could get involved in this process?
So I want to connect with related professionals, the CPAs, the financial planners, the geriatric care managers, the fiduciaries, to make sure that we have resources that can be referred to folks, and to make sure that they are knowledgeable, quality professionals. I want to partner with I want to find some people who might want to do presentations with me. I've done a number of those, and I'm always looking for those. You know, if you want to do a co-program on taxes and the other issues, we can tie the two together. I was on a wonderful panel about a year ago talking about Obamacare with a doctor and an insurance person. So I'm also looking for warm introductions. Getting into the businesses is not an easy thing. Somebody said to me, "Oh, you should go and talk to Google," and I said, "Can you tell me who to talk to?" You know, how do I get those people? Those people are very busy, and I need someone to help champion me into some of those places so I can talk to them. I'm not asking for anything in return. I'm just asking for an opportunity to provide information. And of course, I'm looking for invitations from groups to talk to their members. There's also Gesundheit. Also, we're always gathering more information. I actually have in my law firm what I call the Senior Resource Center, and it's got hundreds, maybe thousands, of different kinds of recommendations, resources to different providers of care, information on how do you deal with different situations, medical information. So it's a true resource center of everything, and we're always looking for additional resources that people can recommend and that we can bring into our resource center and to display for folks. And then I'm looking for avenues to share the information about those resources. So those are the ways that if your listeners can help me get this word out, those would be wonderful.
Okay. So let's review a little bit, because families need to think about long-term care. I mean, it's clear, and it's an issue that's with so many people these days. So what are some of the areas, again, that really we need to plan for?
So I think that you want to talk to an elder law attorney. You need to plan to get to an elder law attorney, make sure all the documents are drafted well, with long-term care planning as a focus on it. Most of my colleagues, who I adore and revere, are planning for what's going to happen when you die. What's going to happen to your stuff, what's going to happen to your family when you die. What I'm primarily looking at, and I do that every day as well, that's a good long-term care, an elder law attorney is first a good estate planning attorney. But in addition, I look at what's going to happen when you don't die. And you get sick.
What's the mechanism that's going to be there to take care of you?
Right, and what are the things that you need to have in your documents that an estate planner might not think about? And I've had conversations with my estate planning colleagues about, some of them are concerned about, should these, some of the provisions I suggest being in wills and in powers of attorney and in trusts, should they be in there? because you might have a family members who use those kind of things to take advantage of the senior. I almost never see that. You know, with the stage where you've got someone who is failing and the family is looking for help and having to deal with these issues, I don't know that we generally find those problems in the families. Most people are looking at a true rock, and they're between the rock and the hard place, and they're trying to find a way around it. So, you know, a good elder law attorney such as myself and others in the community who do know the public benefits and know some of the access points to all of these things. I also mentioned earlier that I thought a key element is the geriatric care manager or the care advocate, care coordinator. You can see these different people with these different titles, and they pretty much are the same thing. You want to make sure that the person you're talking to is truly qualified to do what they're doing. There's nothing that says what is a care coordinator. So somebody can hang up a shingle and say they're a care coordinator or a care patient advocate without any true qualifications. So you want to look at the qualifications for the person. It's not good enough just that this person took care of their mom. Yes, they learned a lot, but if that's all the qualifications they have, they're going to be very limited in what they're going to be able to help with. So look for somebody who's truly qualified. I've set up the company, the Ease Plan, for the specific purpose of providing patient advocacy and care coordination. My individuals who work for me in that are all healthcare providers. They're all healthcare professionals. And that's what I would be recommending. Whether you come to the Ease Plan or you go anywhere, look for someone who's got a healthcare background and expertise. So that's what we're looking at.
Right, and the other I think is, I mean, is there a family member that can step in? Okay, is there a family member that you trust? You know, if they're having trouble handling their own finances, how are they going to handle yours?
True. You don't want that son who's not succeeded in life and he's still living with mom, handling mom's finances. He's probably a reason why he hasn't been successful out on his own. And now, you know, I understand some people had fallen bad times, and we had the recession, and people lost jobs, and it was not of their making. But oftentimes we find that the person who's available and wanting to do it is the person you don't want to do it, because they really don't have the ability. I also want to talk a little bit about the family members who are very well-meaning, and they will be there with mom if you end up in a nursing home or a ER, you know, for medical issues. The medical system today is not what we used to have. I've talked to doctors all over the place, and they're telling me doctors are leaving the profession in droves. That medicine is really about 50% science, and the other 50% is art. And what the system has happened is that everything is protocol. Everything, you go into the doctor and they check off the boxes, and that dictates what the treatment plan should be. You don't get the doctor anymore that looks at you, Mike, and says, you're jaundice. You know, because they just know. They can know across the room that you are. So these are
I'm lucky
issues.
I still have the same family doctor I've had for years, and he would pick up something like that. But anyway,
you are lucky. You are lucky. Because, you know, the Dr. Welby, you know, of the TV series in the 70s, doesn't exist much anymore. You go to your primary care doctor for your routine things, and then you're off to the specialist. The doctors don't have time to talk to each other, and they don't follow you for the most part through the different steps that happen. So you're constantly talking to a new stranger person who's your doctor. Matter of fact, one doctor says the doctoring is going to, in his opinion, become shift work. Like you have factory shifts, they're all interchangeable.
It may in some cases. I guess again I've been pretty lucky.
You have.
And so you talk about the specialist, but every time we add a specialist to the list, I say, well, I've got another new friend for life, and mostly I'm dealing with the same people, and even if I have had to, like I had a different surgeon that I had for some skin surgery recently, but she was a sweetheart. I mean, really wonderful person.
Of course, there's a lot of very caring people.
Yeah.
So what I think is a key is having an advocate who is a liaison with all of these doctors, so that they can make sure that the whole medical.
That's what the primary care physician is supposed to do.
But they don't.
Yeah.
But they don't.
I do find that I feel like there's supposed to be a communication that's going on, and I'm wondering if they're really like reading the stuff that they're getting or something, because when I go in, they don't seem to have the connection. So I'm educating them about, of what's been going on.
There's sort of a cute commercial on TV now that about something about the, or it wasn't a commercial, it was a comedy act, and was talking about the fact that we learn about Prilosec on TV now, and then we're supposed to tell our doctors.
Yeah.
Well, aren't the doctors supposed to be telling us?
Well, yes, they are, but that's a whole other area that we could get into.
True.
Well, Janice, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome. I
It's been
enjoyed
a pleasure having you. This is a very important area that we're talking about, obviously. Again, let's just remind people about that website.
So the Women's Long-Term Care Project is WPLTC. I don't know why it's WP. I guess WLTCP was taken, but WP, so Women's Project Long-Term Care.
Okay. WPLTC, and it's .org?
Yes.
Yes, .org. So, and you could also probably just key in for a search for Women's Long-Term Care Project, and it'll come up.
It may be .com, now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay, so try the both, but anyway, you do want to check out that site. There's a lot of resources there and information, and it's being added to, as I understand it, all the time.
Sure, yes.
To try to get more
It is.
stuff together.
It's a work in progress.
Right. And so again, thank you for joining me, folks. I hope that we've given you some things to think about here. Again, a huge area for our generation in this particular time in our history here in our country. We'll see you next time on Financial Insider Weekly.